One show that dominates cable news, The O'Reilly Factor.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, as violence generated by Muslims continues to rage across the planet. Some theologians, like the Archbishop of Sydney, Australia, are blaming some of it on the violent language contained in the Koran. But is that fair? Joining us now from Washington is Ahmed Yunus, the National Director of the Muslim Public Affairs Council. And from Providence, Rhode Island, Dr. Andrew Bostom, who teaches medicine at Brown University and is author of the book, The Legacy of Jihad. Okay, Professor Bostom, we'll begin with you. Do you think the Koran encourages violence?
Well, it's quite clear, Bill, that there are the later surahs, chapters, for example, chapter 9, is essentially a series of war proclamations against Jews, Christians, pagans, and it has been melded onto a whole superstructure of Islamic law, which renders it a permanent institution, and that institution is called jihad. And unlike warlike verses from, say, the book of Joshua, we're talking about permanent, unreformed ideology that's targeting living people, not extinct peoples. Jews, Christians, pagans would refer to Hindus, Buddhists, etc. So, yeah, I mean, there's also a whole body of careful scholarship on how do we actually interpret specific verses. Quran 929, for example, in my book, I have a whole chapter where the greatest scholars, Muslim scholars, whose task was to analyze what these verses actually mean, make it clear that they mean warfare against Jews and Christians, submitting them to Islamic law as a permanent institution until the world in totality is under Islamic law.
How do you see that? How do you see that, Mr. Yunus? Is the doctor interpreting that correctly?
Sure he is, and this is one interpretation that has been used by many people throughout Islamic history, and what's actually quite interesting is that that's all it is. It's the history of man-made law. I have here the book of the doctor, and there is one page, page 125, which addresses violent jihad in the Quran and makes accusations that it's the actual text, the primary text that creates the law for Muslims that supports this notion of jihad. But in fact, what we have, the rest of this text and what the doctor is referring to, is man-made law, the decisions of people that were in political positions and political authority, and their decision to interpret the text in a way that would yield them legitimacy amongst the populations to be able to engage in the way that would be beneficial to them.
But here's the problem, Mr. Yunus, and also Dr. Bostom. Not everybody is a scholar, all right? Not everybody is a scholar. And when you have explosive passages in the Koran which say things like, quote, and kill them wherever you find them, drive them out from whence they drove you out, and persecution is severer than slaughter. Do not fight them at the sacred mosque until they fight you. But if you do fight them, then slay them. You know,
Bill, wait, let me go ahead. This is a specific admonition to a specific historical situation of a specific group of people at a specific point in time.
So you're saying...
what Osama bin Laden tries to do... Wait, Bill, just one quick point. What Osama bin Laden tries to do, and what the bin Ladens of the times that the doctor is referring have tried to do, is universalize the application.
I got it, but they've been successful. That's the problem. They've been successful in doing that.
And so our response should not be to bolster that interpretation. Rather, our response should be to bolster the interpretation of the vast majority of moderate classical scholars that have rejected this approach.
Now, doctor, that's a legitimate point. Most Muslims in the world don't want to kill you and me and every so-called infidel. It's only a small portion of them wreaking havoc in the world, is it not?
Well, the problem is that what Mr. Yunus said is simply untrue. There has never been a formal renunciation of the jihad as an institution. The Al-Azhar University still teaches jihad war as outlined in tremendous detail in my book. There was a survey. Oh wait, Bill. There was a survey of Egyptian 11th grade school textbooks where classical jihad doctrine, taking off infidels' heads, was taught not only in the Azarite schools, the religious schools, but in the so-called secular schools. So yes, we can.
Let him finish.
It is still a normative part. There is a marginal Sufi tradition of the so-called greater spiritual jihad. But I would point out that the greatest Sufi of all time, Al-Ghazali, was a classical jihadist. And
here's what I don't understand. And I'm going to give Mr. Yunus, I'm going to give you a full minute to reply. I got a quick question for the doctor. Let's take Morocco. All right, Morocco has been around for what? Thousands of years. It's never invaded anybody. I mean, they had the Moor thing, but the country of Morocco hasn't really done anything. They're not jihadists. They don't want to kill you. You can go to Marrakesh and have a good time. So if it is true that you're saying that all the Muslims are reading and learning this stuff, why wouldn't all the Muslim countries be causing trouble?
Excuse me, Bill. Morocco was part of the Barbary states. The Barbary states the Barbary states waged a jihad against the United States.
Okay, look, Bill.
Going all the way back to 1786.
All right, but that was based on economics and piracy. All right, let Mr. Yunus, Yunus reply.
Bill, it was a classical. Bill, it was a classical jihad.
Okay, Mr. Yunus, go ahead.
Jefferson.
There is no such thing. What Mr. Bostom is trying to feign as something that a bunch of Sufis are doing in the mountain somewhere is in fact the predominant interpretation of al-jihad al-akbar, as it is called in the Quran, or the greater jihad, which is the jihad of the soul to make one a better person. The term holy war, al-harb al-muqaddas, does not exist in the Quran, and it does not exist in a single one of the narrations of the Prophet that the good doctor is trying to posit as what is normative in Islamic law.
I think you both made your points, and we'll let the audience decide as always. Gentlemen, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Right back with why liberals are running the most famous journalism school in the country. That should be interesting. It is next.